Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about the final books that I own, just because I thought it would be fun to call out myself of why I haven't read these yet. Obviously last year I did make 2 parts of videos where it's like series I own and haven't finished yet. So obviously a lot of the same ones I hear, but that's like 100 years ago. I know I wanted to make a new one. So I also have new books now, so there's that. Obviously, I was going to say a bit inspired by Final Book Support Group, which is a readathon that now runs a few times a year, hosted by Steph Loves, and I like to participate in basically all the rounds and read my final books. So at this point, I'm just saving all of them for the readathon rounds, which I do think is a bad thing, because that they would just never get finished. But last year I finished so many series because of that readathon. It was a great time. What I count as a final book this time around is final books I own, because I made a list for all of them that I don't own, and the list just became way too long. I think it was 46 books of final books I could read, but I don't own all of them. So if you want a second part of the video, I could make one for books I don't own. And like a final book in this case is like a final book, like the last one in the series as I know right now. So like not A Song of Ice and Fire 5, because while that is the final book that is out, it is not the final book in the series because more is coming. So I try to avoid like the ones I know more is coming, even though it is the final book, because no more out of them. So like I actually haven't read what's it called, A Dance of Dragons. So like in theory that could be in this video because it is a final book I haven't read, but I didn't count those. I only counted the ones that I know the series are finished, just because then I feel like it's like the proper final books, then I'm finished with the series. But obviously for final book I also just read books that it might be coming more, but it is the final book out kind of. But I try to just do the ones that is like final books. And yeah, without further ado, I don't actually know how many do I have here. 22. Which is not bad at all. It is not bad at all. But obviously it would be more if I counted in the ones where like more in the series are coming. But yeah. Okay, let's just do it. First off, we have Unravel the Dusk, which is the sequel to Spin the Dawn, which follows this spinner that kind of uses a magic thing to spin stuff, and she trying to become the spinner for like the royal family, etc. I think also, did she pretend to be a man in the first book? I don't remember, but it turned out not to be exactly what I thought it was at all. Like we went on like a whole thing, and I was really much surprised of how much I enjoyed the first book. It was so fun and good, and I just thought like it would not be like as good. It just made you feel really great. It was like fairy tale-y, really entertaining. It was like exactly what I love kind of in a fantasy and why I have fantasy, and I didn't expect to love it so much. I'm very excited to read this. I only read it last year, the first one, and I've been wanting to read it for like years, but then like, you know, they were re-released from Fairy Loot, so I am planning to read it. I just don't know when. Hopefully now this year. But yeah, it is a finished duology for a long time, so I only need to read this, and now I'll finish the series. On the same note, I also want to read The Dragon's Promise, also by Elizabeth Lim. This is the sequel to Six Crimson Cranes, which I also ended up reading last year. Totally random, like started these like really close together. I think it was to fit some challenges under the 40th hour Bookathon round, if I remember correctly. And in the first one, it is kind of like a retelling of like the Swan Princess fairy tale thing. In this one, like her brothers turned into swans and she's trying to save them, and then a lot of things ensues. It was so fun and good. Again, didn't expect it to be like that. I don't know, it's probably like my brain have started to underestimate YA fantasy because they were all like so similar in a period of time. But these were just so fun and just felt like fairy tales, which is kind of the vibe you're going for in both of them. And again, really excited for this because Six Crimson Cranes kind of ended on a cliffhanger, and here we get the answers, and I'm so excited. So why haven't I read it yet? I don't know, you should ask someone else. I don't have the answers for you. Then we have the second book in Alchemical Journeys, which is Season of Fairies by Shannon McGuire, which is a sequel to Middle Game. And this one follows Dodger and Roger, who like, I think, have this bond. Remember, the first book is difficult, and they can like talk to each other over distances, and there's a reason for this, etc. It's kind of like a mystery of why. And I believe the author has said that she might want to do like a third book. Like she wants it to be a trilogy, but that is not set in stone. Every book in the series is read as a standalone, I believe. So I do count this as a final book because like there's no guarantees of the third book, even though like in technicality, if a third book comes, it should be in this video, but we are just following, yeah, my gut. And also like since it can be aired as a standalone, I don't know, but it's kind of a final book. I don't know. I don't even know if I read this, if I would count it as a finished series. Stuff like this, technicalities, stresses me out. I just need authors to give me specific answers so I will know. Then we have Emperor of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. This is the final book in, what's it called? Broken Kingdoms, I think. And I read 1 and 2 pretty close together. Not, I think like probably a year in between, so that is not close together, but you get what I mean. And like, I didn't love it. The main character, basically, he just tried to win back his kingdom that was stolen from him. He murders and rapes, and then we go around. And then the first book, it was fine, because you're a bit like shocked of like, this is kind of douchebag. And there's kind of like 2 timelines where like, we don't know what happened. And then we go back and forth. And then in the second book, it was the exact same thing. Like, we are in a state, and then we go back in time to find out where we ended in this state. And then, again, it's just murdering and raping. And I was just like, why am I reading the same book again? Is this book the same one more time? Because I don't bother. And now, at this point, it's been so long since I read the first book and the second book. And I feel like I've given up. But I want to read as I can continue with Mark Lawrence. But then, I don't wanna. So, I'm just stuck in this limbo. Yeah, but bleh. Then we have Allegiance by Veronica Roth, which is obviously the final book in Divergent. I read 1 and 2 and never read the third book and never watched the third movie. Apparently a lot of people didn't, because you know the second part of that third movie was cancelled. Folks, in the first book, Triss, they get to choose which faction they're gonna be in, and then does she choose like to be Dauntless, which is like totally weird that she chose it, because she come from like the faction that was like super sad. Not sad, but super like the servants of the people, and the Dauntless are just running around on trains or something. I don't even know. Does she choose it, or is it like what she gets? Can she not choose? I think she gets like a result, and then she could choose in the end. And then she chose Dauntless because she didn't feel like being whatever she was. And then, like, it is whole revolutionary, and everyone is like, what? Because they're trying to put people in these boxes. You know, it is like a white dystopia. I didn't like hate Divergent, but I never loved it either. Now I would just never continue. I want to read it, but I feel like I would need to read 1 and 2. I am not in the mood, but I love the first movie. That was great fun. And then we have Death Angels 3 by Stefan R.M. Sørum. This is a Norwegian YA fantasy series where I read 1 and 2 and borrowed them in the library. I think it follows like these teens that get powers, and then there's these angels coming after to kill them, like literally angels from the Bible, I think, because they're not supposed to exist or something. And then they get haunted, and it was a really fun book. I read 1 and 2 like 10 years ago. And then this third book we had in my store when I was working there, and then we were gonna, I don't know, it was like on sale for like 20 NOK, which is like $2 less. And then I just bought it because I was just like, I might as well read this now one day. I don't have 1 and 2. And now I don't remember anything of the first 2. I could possibly borrow them in the library and finish off the series. There's just no interest anymore, but I don't do enough stuff. So one day maybe it could just be there haunting me. You know, when like I get a prompt to read a book on your TBR, then I will get this book. And I would just be like, well, dang. There's another book I have in Norwegian, but it's actually a Swedish book, which is Anglefos, which is The Key by Mats Sandberg and Sara B. Elfgren. This is actually translated in English, so people can read them, and like I know people really enjoy them. I read 1 and 2, obviously, and I think I borrowed them at the library, but I own the whole series because I got them, I wished them for Christmas at a later time. And it is actually a super fun series. It follows this group of teens that all get different powers, and then there's like people from the future haunting them. That's like literally the same book I just described, just that the other one has to do with angels. And it's just so fun. There's so much drama, and like you try to find out like who's haunting them or not, and it was just such a fun time. I don't know if I will like it much now, because I bet like the teenage drama would annoy me, but at the time when I read them when I was a teenager, it was the best time. I never read the third book. I don't know why. I read 1 and 2. I enjoyed it so much. Never read the third book, and I have the third book now. And I feel like, again, at this point, I need to reread 1 and 2. This is something I might do, but I'm just like, oh, that's effort, and there's so many books. I don't have anything against the series, and I do believe, like, they made, like, Swedish movies out of them and stuff. And, like, I thought it was a really good series at the time. So, like, yeah. Then we have An Unreliable Magic by Winter Peckle. This actually came out like last year, and this is the sequel to 100 Names for Magic, also by Winter Peckle. And this one just is like an Arthurian retelling where like Camelot has like been abandoned, and then like we have just been growing up in an overworld world to then return and take back the kingdom, and we follow like our main character. I don't remember her name. She has powers, and then it's them returning to take back like the land from the Stone Queen, etc. And like, yeah, we follow her point of view, not the author's point of view. And I really enjoyed the first book. I thought I had a really great time with it. I even had an arc at the time, and I also like, I wanna read this, but also, do I remember the first book? No. But I might not reread because it's not like that long since I read it. But there was a long wait between book 1 and 2, and I think a lot of people forgot like about the series, it seems like, which is a bit sad because like the first book wasn't terrible. Then we have The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is obviously the third book in the Inheritance Game series. First book in the series. I read both of them last year, so it's not a long time since I got this, and this came out in August. It's not a long time since I had it either. But the first book in the series was like one of my favorite reads last year. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was Avery who inherits like $1 billion from a dude she doesn't know, and we tried to figure out like why. And then I read the second book, which I like was not as great. I think I gave it like 4 stars, but like it's more like a 3 star. It was just very disappointing. It like didn't keep that appeal that the first book had. So then I was turned off by this. I was planning to read it, but now I'm just turned off because I feel like I'm gonna be disappointed. And like, yeah, but the sticker is like stuck in there. I want to read it and like find all the answers in the end. And I love reading about people who get a lot of money because that's how I live through them. But at this point I'm just like, ah. So then we have Love Boat Reunion by Abigail Hing Wen. This was the sequel to Love Boat Taipei, and I believe like it is the final book. I am actually not 100% sure, but it seems like there's nothing else announced. And this is more like a companion because it was a different couple than in the first book. It's just a lot of people coming to like this meet to kind of meet their future husbands and wives, and then there was a lot of drama in the first book, but it was kind of fun. I want to read the second one. Like, it's not that long ago since I read the first one, so I'm all for reading this whenever I feel like it. Then we have The Crown's Fate by Evelyn Sky, which is a sequel to The Crown's Game. Didn't love that book that much, which is why I've been putting this off. And it basically was like a magical game between these two characters, and then they were going to win something, and I was just like, okay. And it wasn't like amazing. It wasn't terrible either. I read another book by the author, which I really didn't like, but this one like okay. I will read it eventually when maybe one day I have it and it's only like a duology, then I will be finished, but I'm putting it off. Then we have Airy by Maria Dava Headley, and the first book in this was Magonia, which I only bought and read because I was participating in this random book club on Goodreads at the time. And I read the first book and like it was super weird and enjoyable, but it's like basically like a whole like world up in the sky. And here's the sequel. Never obviously read it, which is why it's here, and it's like a duology. I could have finished it years ago, didn't do that. And now this book just haunts me because I kind of remember the first book and I don't bother reading that again, and now I just have this forever. And again, some people would just enough and get rid of it, but it's like a thing I want to finish one day. But yeah, I think it's also something about like, read a bit here, but it's something about like the main character couldn't breathe on Earth because she had like lung problems. And I don't remember if the Sky Kingdom made it better or worse, but yeah. Oxygen, you know. I don't know how well oxygen is up there. Isn't it thinner the further you go up? So I don't know. And then we have Los Peregrinos by Cecilia San Martin. This one is in Norwegian edition. It is like the third book in a trilogy, which I don't remember the name of. I think it's like Senor Peregrino. Sorry, my Spanish, I don't have any, so that is the problem. Which is like the first book of the author coming out in 2016. This one came out in 2014. I read 1 and 2, and it's basically like about them, I don't know, living. I don't remember even if it is this one where they go to the States or if it's another one and then we look upon the past. It's just, the author just writes a lot from like Mexico and Cuba, etc., because like that's where the author hails from, and I really enjoyed the books at the time when I read them, and I read like not all of them anymore, but like at the time I had read like almost all of the books by the author, and I'd like gone through them. I met her several times. She is such a lovely person. Where she sells really well in Norway. She keeps coming here, and I lost the book. Is this signed? It is. Look at this. To me as well. I've forgotten. But yeah, I want to read this and enjoy it because I feel like I will like them, because they're good like literature, but I just don't remember 1 and 2 anymore, and I don't bother rereading them at the time, so it is just gonna be there to haunt me. Then we have Me Before You, which is the final book in the series, still me, obviously the final book, because yeah. And she turned this series into a trilogy. I was supposed to read it in 2022, the whole thing. I read number 2 and that was enough, but no, I will like finish this off, think this year, just to like get rid of it and never think about it again. I don't even own this. This is my mom's copy of the 3rd book that I gave to her, and I never want to think about it again, but I'm just gonna finish it. I assume what people know what Me Before You is, and if you don't know, then you don't want to know. Here we have Legend by Maria Lu. This one is Champion, which is the final book, and now I realize that this is a lie, because it's not the final book, because she added a book many years later, which came out like 2 years ago. Everyone was adding to their series at the time, like Shadow Me and Miss Spring Goes Home for Peculiar Children, Legend, and then other series were just added to. The Darkest Minds, all of them added to their series that had been out for years and was finished at the same time. But yeah, I forgot that that was released. This is actually not the final book, so we can kind of scratch this, but kind of it is, you know, a trilogy and it's whole, and like the next one is kind of like a companion book. I need to just read this, and I really liked 1 and 2 actually. They were like surprised me. I like had really low expectations, but they really surprised me, and I want to finish it, but here we are, and I haven't. And then we have The Storm. I think I just read The Rain. I feel like I read The Rain last year, which basically means that all water is like poisonous and then you die. And then we have like the most annoying little shit kid that never survives, and we need to follow her. Then this is the sequel. I read about her in the 1st book, and I hated her, and now I need to continue so I can read this duology done. I bought it like many years ago, and I never read it, and then I finally read the 1st book, and I'm like, I should have just read it when I bought them, because then I wouldn't be so annoyed. I probably wouldn't care. Then we have the final book, In the Sense of Aravia, which is obviously the sequel to V Hunter Flame, which was one of my anticipated releases when it was released. And then I ended up not liking it as much, and I've been putting this off. It's also huge, and I'm just like, ugh. But the writing is so good though, and I love like the world and stuff. I just didn't like the characters, and this is actually picked up for like sequels I need to read this year, so I will read it this year. I actually will. So then I will finish it. So then I don't need to worry about it anymore, because it's already been picked out. We have The Towering Sky by Catherine McGee. This is the final book in the 1,000 Floor series. And I really like, I don't love the series, but it's so trash. It's like Gossip Girl in space. It just follows a bunch of different characters with weird problems. And I'm just sitting there like, okay. I don't care. But I read 1 and 2, and they were like semi-entertaining, and now I have the final book. I am gonna read it, but now I don't remember any of the conflicts that any of the characters had. There's one character that's died in every book, and then we're trying to find out who, and I'm just like, let's go. They're trash, but whatever. Know some trash books sometimes as well. I have Ashes of Gold by GL, which is the sequel to Wings of Ebony, which follows like this world where people have powers and they need to go and have this magical secret land, and then we also like have the characters like living in poverty in the States, and then she finds out about the magical land, and then like it's a whole thing. It's really cool. I didn't love the 1st book because I felt like it wasn't as balanced as I wanted it to be, but it was still like an enjoyable book with really like good writing and good characters. It was just like the plot and like the setup wasn't amazing. Like it wasn't bad at all, it just wasn't amazing. But this one, I am excited still to read it, because I feel like this, now you establish stuff, now we can like go on and like see more, and it will be great. So excited, and I will read it. It's not that long. I read Wings of Ebony last year, so hopefully I will get to Ashes of Gold soonish. Then I have Shadow Song by S.J. Jones. This is again a book I didn't read that long ago. Winter Song I read last year in August, so it's not even that long ago, but I owned them for years. And it is a labyrinth retelling. It was much more sexy than I thought it would be, much more enjoyable than I thought it would be. I thought it would be trash. Again, don't mind trash, but like this just prices my expectations, and now I'm gonna read this eventually. I am excited for it actually, because I'm excited to see where the story will go. So yay. And on the final book for this video, we have Rosewater Redemption, which is the final book in the Warmer trilogy. And this one follows like a big alien thingy has landed in Rosewater in Nigeria, and then we just like follow like how it has affected their lives and like the people, and then we kind of have spice and stuff. It is like a bit weird to read, because it's written like really like in a different, I was going to say tone of writing, so I'm like, sometimes I'm like, what is going on? But it's very fascinating. I read 1 and 2 and I enjoyed them, and I, like, as you can see, I own the 3rd one, and I want to read it and finish the trilogy, because then I'm done with the trilogy. And like, it is very unique and very fun, but I'm also like, I don't really understand everything. But sometimes you don't need to understand everything. It wasn't the last one. I had one more. I forgot. We have Gleamings by Neil Schusterman, which is again, stories set in a Skype world. I guess like the main trilogy is finished, but like since it is added in the series now, I'm like, I had finished the series, but I had not finished the series because now I need to read this to finish the series one more time. I already written it up a series I finished, so I won't write it up twice, obviously. It is more like the part of the series and the world. I'm actually very excited. I know people didn't love the ending. Oh, there's a bookmark in here. I really enjoyed the ending, okay? I had a good time with it, and I feel like I am gonna enjoy this. So I just really love the world. I keep actually sometimes thinking about the world they live in and how weird it is. It fascinates me, so reading more about stuff set in it is something I want. I'm excited to read it. And that was the last one for this video. That is my final books. Because obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I have other books that are final books, but like more things are coming. So I didn't count in for this video because I didn't want it to be 3 hours long. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. What are your final books that you're very excited for? The ones I would love to get to is obviously the Me Free the Stars, because I'm already reading that. And then I would like to like finish maybe the Elizabeth Lim ones, because they just seem so fun. But then also I'm in the middle of like a bunch of other series that I'm trying to like get to the final books for, like The Realm of the Elder Rings, etc. But obviously I have so many left in that I couldn't have them in my final books and stuff like that. And I'm trying to get through all the stuff, but there's so many books and there's no time. Life is in the way always. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Check out my Patreon down below. We are currently having, for example, a series read along where you can get your whole series together, so you won't have another final book on your TBR. And you should see me soon in a new video. Leave a stab down below if you enjoyed this video. You shall see me again soon, and goodbye.